host, Elijah Fields. Today, I'm joined by Alex Coleman of UNC Softball. Alex, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Why don't you go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself?
My name is Alex Coleman. I'm a junior now at UNC. Played my last 2 years at Marshall University. I'm originally from Asheboro, North Carolina, but I am now back home finishing out my career about an hour and a half down the road from my hometowns.
In talking to you, you said your faith is something you wanted to be more open about. Not that you were ever like private about it, but you feel like now more than ever, there's a need to, for athletes to, kind of take that avenue and be open about their faith. So go ahead for a second, talk about what that looks like for you and, what your faith means to you.
My sophomore year at Marshall, a lot of people know I was injured from April through December. I was out for 10 months, and it was a really, I mean, you got to have some dog about you to come back to an injury. And um, I really believe that I used my faith to get through that, and I was put through that for a reason. And now coming back home and taking that jump, it's not, I mean, it wasn't an easy decision for me to leave at all. I loved Marshall, I loved Huntington, but I really had to take that leap of faith and figure out if this is where I was meant to be. And but yeah, playing for something bigger than yourself. And while I was hurt, that's kind of where I'm going with this. I learned that softball wasn't everything. I learned that being on the sidelines and being forced to sit away, softball wasn't everything, and it could be taken away so fast right before your eyes. And these next 2 years, I really just want to focus on playing every single day, one day at a time, for the one who made me. And that's my goal, and that's what I want to do. And practice the same way, and just to use my platform to shine a light to him and for others, really.
I agree with that. I enjoy that you actually say that too. Because obviously here at Mother Score, we're about mental health, what makes the athlete better, and we're obviously about high level athletes. But I think as someone who follows mainstream sports, high level sports, the component that gets left out, most of the time is the faith piece. And I think it's so cool, and I think it's so important that you're carrying that with you on the Division 1 level. If there was anyone who sparked your faith at any age or any moment, like what was that age slash moment where you first were like, okay, this is who God is?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in church, and things change over time, and you figure out who you are and what you think it means to you. I mean, it's never like a set in stone thing, but really just my first year at Marshall was like a really, really tough year. And I kind of fell on that piece of it and fell on the Lord. But really, this past year, and I hate to bring up like Oklahoma softball because everybody's like, oh, Oklahoma, they win all the time. And I'm the same way. But
Mhm.
a couple of the girls from Oklahoma, like what they play for and what they stand for, it's really like it's shaking me a little bit. And because they don't care about winning. Yeah, they win and they're good at it and they love to win, but that's not why they do it, really. So I mean, I think they opened up my eyes a lot to it too recently.
What would you say to the college or high school freshman that's coming into the first season of their sport, but they've been attached to their faith for so long? What would be your advice to them in carrying that through their sport?
We actually had a scrimmage the other day, and I was on the team. I was on a team with a bunch of freshmen. I try to keep everything so lighthearted when I play, and it's easier said than done because it's very easy to fall into a bad headspace. But to the freshmen the other day, I looked at multiple of them and I said, this doesn't matter. Softball does not define you. This is irrelevant. Go play and have fun. That's word for word what I said to multiple of the freshmen. And like, I think that applies to your faith too, because this is why we do it. We go out to have fun and play loose. That's kind of how I want them to transfer it because
Yeah.
coming in freshman year, you're not relaxed, you're pressing, you're tight, you're not confident. Typically, that's how I was, 100%. And I like to freshman Christian athletes, I would tell them, go play free, play loose, and be unapologetically yourself. Like don't let a university, other people's thoughts dictate how you feel and what and your beliefs pretty much.
And I really like that because my goal for this is for you to be able to come on here and talk about this and it not be deemed controversial. Because I feel like, a lot of the time what happens is someone affiliates themselves with a religion, and then as soon as that religion, you know, messes up, or someone who's firm in that religion makes a mistake, then that whole religion is viewed based off that person. What my hope is that people can just see Christianity, for what it is. And honestly, the concept and base of this episode is faith. Now, me personally, I'm a Christian, you're a Christian, so I'm sure our preference would be, for people to take an understanding and an interest to Christianity. But, in the world we live in today, I would like people to just believe in something. Like, I think the greatest thing I've heard is believe in something, like stand for something, or you'll fall for everything. And I think right now, with what's happening in our world, that is very prevalent, very true. Um, in terms of being back home, what has that been like for you? Because obviously you're getting a chance, more family, they're going to be able to come see you. You're at home with a coach who's also returning home, and Megan Lyons and, her staff, like they're returning home with her. So what's that been like for you in that environment?
I mean, for example, my dad came through town today and like we got to go out to lunch and that's something that never ever would have happened at Marshall. I mean, I think it was I know that I was in the right place my first 2 years because if I would have came to Chapel Hill my freshman year, I
Mhm.
would have never had to cut the cord and stay away from home because in Huntington I was too far away. It was a 5 hour drive. I wasn't making that over the weekend and it made me go out and be somebody on my own. And now that I'm here, I don't mind not going home. I haven't been home yet. I don't know when I'm going home.
Yeah,
But I have a bunch of my best friends from high school go to school here. And being home, it's different. I don't know. It feels different. And Chapel Hill I might not be set, like it doesn't feel like homey home to me yet, but I know that it
mm,
will. And I'm close. I'm close and I can make the drive. And like I said, I have friends here from high school. My dad comes through town. My parents come through. And in the spring, we have a bunch of people who are so excited to make an hour and a half drive and come see me and the
yeah,
girls that I give lessons to, they're so excited to come watch us play this fall and in the spring. And that's really what I'm excited about is people having more opportunities to come see me play.
that's amazing. Talk a little bit more about that. So you're going to get a chance to essentially go home. You talked about, how the decision to leave Marshall, it was, it was huge. It was a huge step for you, as a person, as an athlete. Talk about the pressures that come with, being back in front of your hometown, some people who essentially helped you along the journey, along on your journey. Talk about what it's going to be like to finally be able to give back to them.
Right, right. Yeah. And just playing I mean, I'm home, and
Mm,
it's awesome and there's really no pressure. I mean, if I go out and go 0 for 4 one day, who cares? I mean,
no.
yeah, you're a little upset about it or pissed off, but I mean, at the end of the day, I can go out and go 4 for 4 tomorrow. I mean, there's really no pressure about it. I don't think. I definitely want to come in here and kick my foot in the door through the ACC. I mean, that's something I
Yeah.
want to do. That might give me more pressure than coming and playing for my home crowd because playing for my home crowd is something that everybody should want to do. So that there's more excitement coming there than fear, I would say.
I'm very curious to know. So, like I mentioned earlier, Coach Lyon, she's also from the UNC area. She's a UNC alum. As a player, what does it mean to be able to come back to your coach's hometown? Obviously, she's someone who means a great deal to you.
Yeah, and my number at Marshall was number 4, and I've worn number 4 for a while now, and
Hmm.
it was taken. I couldn't wear it, but
Hmm.
number 3 was open, and this is Coach Smith's first year as a head coach here, and she wore number 3. So I
Really?
think it's like such a surreal thing for me to like come here, wear her number, play in front of her family, finish out my career here playing for her first couple. the beginning to her end, you would some could say. I mean,
You
so it's definitely exciting and wearing her number and just representing North Carolina. I'm back in
Yeah,
the South. I'm back
yeah.
where I love, back where I belong, and it's so surreal. And I couldn't have written it up any better than what's happened. I really could not have written a better script.
That's and honestly, it's such a unique situation. It's not every day that, someone who's raised in their hometown environment, they get to come back and like I kind of talked about earlier, like grow in that environment. Like it's not every day that you get to do that. So it's very special that you get to do that in terms of mental health, amongst the athlete. Obviously, that's what this is about. Uh, like, what does that word mean to you?
I have never, I mean, I know a lot of stuff is going on today, but I've never been, and I'm in full support of everybody who goes through rough patches, and I'm here and I will guide you the best that I can. But and like I said, I've been through that stint, but I always knew that I was gonna see through the end of the tunnel. Like I always knew better days were coming. I never fell into that lull, I mean, we're here, we're living life. I woke up today. That makes me happy. So I don't get down in those trenches that often. I hope I never do. I mean, you're never as good as your best day and you're never as bad as your worst. So I always try to find that in between and really mental health. I mean, if I'm struggling, I get in the word. That's just what I do. So
Yeah. Yeah. So it's very often that I'll have someone on here and they come and just drop like a mic drop of a quote. If, Scott Hall wasn't gonna like hurt me for dropping this mic, he gifted me this mic. I would give you a mic drop. Shout out Scott Hall. And that's just an awesome way to look at life. That's an awesome outlook. Uh I will have to let this be known on the record. Anyone who knows me, they know I'm a huge Duke fan. Um, but I will let you know that, just because you're a guest on here, I will be, when it comes to UNC Duke softball, I will be rooting for UNC. So
perfect.
yeah, I would like to thank you for coming on here. Thank you for taking time to pretty much just talk about something that I feel like, it's not really popular to talk about. A lot of times you get people who are not necessarily afraid, but they're essentially like shy to come out and talk about their faith and be public. So I salute you for that, and I wish you the best. I'll be praying for you as you go through these last couple of years of your softball career, and as you become an ambassador for the Lord. I appreciate you on both ends. Before we get out of here, do you have any final remarks, any final thoughts, anything we haven't touched on that you would like to share?
I just want to say I'm so thankful for Marshall and Huntington. Y'all were nothing but good to me. I will
Oh yeah.
always hold a piece of Huntington in my heart. I will be visiting. I will bring my kids to Marshall games. I love Huntington, and I always will. That's one other thing I'll say. And to any young softball players, always play hard and never stop running to first base because I never have and I never will.
That's a great piece of advice. Alex, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. And
Thank
that'll,
you.
yeah, yeah, that'll be all here.